Hey everybody, so today we're going to be taking a look at the first set of the Karumon Brawl card game that just recently released. I think it came out fully on August 8th. This is just the first set that's coming out. If you are familiar with something like Triple Triad from Final Fantasy VIII, you'll be right at home here. I love the art style. It's got this Ken Sugimori type Pokemon art style, and I've been following this since the campaign first started. I'm glad that it's finally here. We're not going to focus too much on rules or anything like that. I just want to do more of a set review and see what we got cooking inside this box here. Let's check it out. So this Series 1 Complete Collection box comes with two different starter decks, just both 30 cards each. Pretty basic decks that just get you started, help new players learn the rules a little bit more gently. You get a couple rules to remind you how the game goes. You get some token cards to keep track of statuses, power-ups, power down, things like that. You get 120 other cards to start filling out your decks, building your own stuff once you get the hang of things. 120 is nothing to sneeze at, and there are quite a few very interesting cards in there, but we'll come around to those later. So just for the sake of completeness, we'll take a little peek at the rules cards real quick. Just super easy. I think it's only, front and back, 4 cards. Remind you how to play, show you everything about effects and things like that, types of Karumon. You can also just read these at Karumon.com, and there's also someone from the Discord that made a rules explanation video that is very in-depth, and I'll link that in the description also. Then you get a whole bunch of token cards to keep track of blocking, floating, crying, flaming, and hiding. So those are all different effects that Karumon can take. You also have a whole bunch of power loss cards that on the other side are power plus, so you can slide those underneath Karumon as you play to keep track of their power a little bit better. Alright, so now let's get into some actual combos and plays. If you had something like this Mugisu on your team, when a Karumon on your team loses power, choose a Karumon on your rival's team. That Karumon loses 1 power. So if you play a bonus card like Cherry Bomb, which is going to make one of your Karumon and one of your rival's Karumon lose 1 power, you can double that power loss on their Karumon. This is even better if you have something like Magatama on your team, because anytime a Karumon on your team loses power, you can make Magatama lose power instead, and it'll draw you a card. Now keep in mind though, that Magatama can only go down to 0 power, so you can't go into negative to keep doing it, but he's still very worth generating card value. The upgrade Mugisu is very powerful. 12 power right out of the gate. You can upgrade your own Mugisu, and it can attack in almost all directions. When a Karumon on your rival's team loses power, all Karumon on that team lose 1 power instead. So something like Cherry Bomb is going to go around their entire board to make all their Karumon weaker. But that said, if they were to play something like Tiger Acorn while you had this Mugisu out, this is going to give their Karumon plus 3 power until the end of the turn, and then they lose 4. This will override that, and instead of just that one Karumon losing 4 power, their entire team will just lose 1, according to Mogisu's effect. So keep that in mind. That's kind of situational, depending on if they're going to lay down something pretty strong that you want to lose 4 power, rather than just spreading it around the field. Starter Nezuna is going to be the card that gets stuff back from your discard pile. You get to shuffle. You don't go straight to hand, unfortunately, but you can shuffle up to 3 cards from your discards into your deck. If you do, Nezuna cannot attack this turn. So, very nice card to play on the first turn of round 2 or round 3 when you already have stuff in your discards and you know you're not going to be attacking. But also, if you absolutely have to, you can lay it down and forego the attack just for the sake of getting something back into your deck that you can find later. If you were to upgrade one of your Nezuna, when Nezuna attacks, you may choose a bonus card from your discards and add it to your hand. You can't choose a player card. Usually okay though. If you were to lay Nezuna down against something that had 14 power, you could go ahead and go and fetch a Tiger Acorn from your discards that you already had played earlier. Oh, shit. I did that wrong. Lay it down and try to attack a Karumon with 13 power. You can go and fetch a Tiger Acorn that you used earlier from your discards. Go ahead and use it before the attack initiates. And now this Nezuna is going to have 14 power and you can capture that thing. Chip is a very interesting one. You don't gain any levels at the end of the round for having it captured, but it is going to be a thorn in the side of your rival for every turn that you have it on the field. When another Karumon on your team defends, that Karumon gains 1 power and the attacker loses 1. So there's constantly going to be a 2-power flip every time that one of your rivals, Karumon, tries to attack one of yours. But they can capture Chip and take the effect for themselves. It's just how much will they be willing to spend in order to keep Chip captured, as opposed to possibly going after some of your future Karumon that are going to be more valuable in the levels department. Now Fuigiru, this golem-looking mofo, he is a legend. You may only have one copy of this card in your deck. The first legend card you will see. He has 8 power and is a starter. You can just lay it straight down. When Fuigiru defends for the first time during a round, all Karumon on your rival's team lose 2 power, and Fuigiru gains blocking until his turn ends. So, the first time that Fuigiru defends during a round, it's going to be a 5-power swing that your rival has to overcome in order to capture him. So, very strong, especially early on if you're going to try and protect something. Very good card to play. Starter Tombu isn't anything too crazy or special, but it is a nice effect that when he is captured as a result of a brawl, the attacker loses 4 power permanently. That can be useful, especially if they happen to lay down something relatively strong that you're going to want to try and capture later. A 4 power loss is pretty serious. And also, look how cute he is. Look at his little mad face. He's so angry. Look at him. Now, the upgrade Tombu, during the entire round, Karumon can't gain added effects, so that's like flaming, hiding, all those things that have the little cards in the rules set that I showed you. Like I talked about earlier, Magatama. So not only can you choose to have your own cherry bombs target Magatama and draw a card for it, but anytime that your rival tries to cast one or do any other type of effect that was going to target any one of your other Karumon, as long as Magatama still has power, if he has over 0 power, anytime a Karumon on your team loses power, you can choose Magatama to lose it instead and draw a card for it. So if you have a Magatama that is, say, in the corner and has been surrounded by other Karumon on your team, completely safe, you can just let him lose power all willy-nilly and draw cards for it every time. The water cards in the Sakura deck aren't anything too crazy, not any wild combos necessarily to talk about, but Mika is important to draw you a card, only when it enters the arena, so it's not going to draw your rival a card when they capture it or anything like that. That's always a plus. Chinado here is going to gain a power for each water-type Karumon on your team until this turn ends. Going to be a lot stronger, of course, in a deck that is going to have mostly water Karumon, but in this deck it's just nice to have as a linchpin if need be. Similarly, Airo is going to be best in a deck that is focused on water. But when a Karumon on your team defends, attacker loses 2 power as long as there are at least one other water-type Karumon on your team. That includes if you've captured one of your rivals that happens to be water, but this is definitely going to be best in a water-centric deck. And the final Karumon for the Sakura deck is this one Metal-type Miyu. Now, when Miyu defends, your rival discards a card from their hand. If they don't have any cards, they won't, but not that huge of a deal. If you can force this discard multiple times, say, your rival lays down something that's maybe 7 power, thinking, oh, well, I'll just discard once and capture Miyu, it'll be no big deal. If you have a Tiger Acorn in hand, you can pump it up by 3 power, make it 8, and then they'll have to try and capture it again and hopefully discard another card later on. Now for the bonus cards. So my favorite thing about bonus cards, especially these players, is that all bonus cards are instant speed. So you can play them anytime on your opponent's turn or on your turn, just about any time you want. The coolest thing about Sakura, her effect is alright. When this round ends, gain an additional level for each upgrade Karumon on your team. So cards like Mogisu and the upgraded Nezuna, those will net you an extra level whenever this round ends. Perfectly fine, especially if you have a deck once you construct something that's going to have a lot of upgrade Karumon in it. But something like this, if it is near the end of the game and you're about to fill up the 8th slot on the arena and your opponent's like, ooh, I'm so ready to play into that 9th slot and go ahead and flip something and capture it and take the levels, you can just plop Sakura down, take that last spot, and then say, oops, round's over. All the spots are filled. Instant speed, awesome. Already been talked about a few times before, but Tiger Acorn is the high risk, high reward type card, power loss and power gain. So this is just to push over some kind of strong Karumon. You gain 3 power, but when the turn ends, the Karumon loses 4. So make sure that whatever you're using it on is either protected or you don't really care to lose it that much, or it's helping you take a higher value target. We've also talked about Cherry Bomb before. Choose a Karumon on your rival's team, Karumon on your team, both lose 1 power. Nice to help you win fights. Cure All is going to remove any type of added effect from a Karumon, but only on your team, so you can't remove hiding or floating from one of your rivals' Karumon. But you can get rid of flaming or crying from your own Karumon, which is always nice. Keep in mind though that this does not affect any power gain or power loss. This is just added effects, so the 5 effects that have the cards, that's all this is going to remove. Power Potion, pretty simple, but it is just a quick combat trick, permanent power 1 gain. Treasure Hunt is always nice. Drawing 3 cards, you shuffle 2 back into the deck. This is awesome if you play Nezuna. That's going to get you stuff from your discard pile back into the deck. Then you shuffle those, then you go ahead and play Treasure Hunt and hopefully draw one of the 3 targets that you really needed off of that first shuffle. Now, the one unique bonus card that the Marcus deck does not have, but Sakura does, is Tag Team. So this changes the entire structure of the way that brawls occur during a round. So instead of having to attack with the Karumon that you play or with the one that you upgrade on that turn, during this round, both players, so you and your rival, keep that in mind, can attack with Karumon that are already in the arena. This is probably going to be most important closer to the end of the game, especially if you can maybe take up the last slot with something rather weak, knowing that the game is going to end, and then play tag team and say, I'm not attacking with that one, I'm going to attack with this big boy, take your Karumon that's going to give me +3 levels, and then the round ends. So pretty tricky one here. I like that one. Alright, so if we take a look at the Marcus deck, there's Marcus, he's cool. He looks like he can beat you up. That's stupid. You're going to see a couple shared cards, just to keep things a little bit balanced. You've got the Nezunas and an upgrade. You've also got your own chip. Now you will also have Mogisu, but this is a different variant and is going to have a different effect. When Mogisu enters the arena, choose a Karumon on your rival's team with 6 or more power. That Karumon loses 1 power. Great. Awesome effect, pretty simple. Only occurs when it enters the arena, so it's not going to give your rival the effect if it happens to get captured. We have the same upgrade Mogisu. The last typeless is something that's a lot like Fuigiru, but this is Raigiru. Oh god. For the last typeless card in this deck, we have something just like Fuigiru, but this is Raigiru. He is a different color and everything. Also a legend, so you can only have 1 copy of this card in the deck. When Raigiru is captured for the first time during a round, you may discard 2 cards. If you do, Raigiru loses 8 power, but is no longer captured. So he has a 1 last-ditch effort to keep himself on your team, but maybe worth it, depending on the situation. If he's already protected, surrounded by some other Karumon, and they lay it down just to try and capture him as 1 last-ditch effort. I already said that. I already said last-ditch effort like 6 times. You can save him once. Wow. Now you would get your first peek at Wood Karumon. This is Pankuma, and he is adorable. When Pankuma defends, Karumon do not get power-ups during this turn. So if they happen to play something that is strong against Wood type, they will not get the power-up. It's only going to be effective, I guess, against a pretty weak Karumon. I mean, sure, you can Tiger Acorn him to save him or something like that. But yeah, a neat little effect. Now, one reason that you might want to save Pankuma is because the upgrade is a big boy, and he is a little less cute this time around, a little more scary. Does he have 1 eyeball, or does he have 2? That's a good question. Anyways, when Pankuma is upgraded, it gains 2 power for each other round before this round. So obviously going to be strongest on the last round, hopefully to push forward your last couple levels that you need to win the game. Going to enter at 14 power base, and then you can just start plopping on upgrades as you need. Now we will see the first Karumon that is going to give another Karumon an added effect. When Onaki defends, choose up to 2 Karumon in any direction, not just the directions that it's pointing to. Each of these Karumon gains crying. So if you are worried about your rival possibly upgrading their Mogisu or their Nezuna, if Onaki is nearby and defends, you can go ahead and give them crying just to stop that from happening. But keep in mind that if you give one of them crying and you happen to have an upgrade that you can play on one of them if they were on your team, when you capture them, they will still have crying, and you won't be able to upgrade them with your own upgraded Mogisu or Nezuna or whatever you may have. But still, if you know that you're not going to have that opportunity, Onaki to give somebody crying is great. Now this is my second favorite card in the set. My first is going to be later on in some of the additional cards, but this is Sumitaru. He looks like a little tiny turnip. I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's like a little brown turnip. I'm colorblind. I don't know why I said brown. He's purple. When Sumitaru enters the arena, add a starter Karumon with 6 power or less from your deck to your hand. Shuffle afterwards. This is the only searching card in the entire set. I'm sure that we'll have some more in the future as more sets come on, but if you've got a Derelict upgrade Nezuna, a Derelict upgrade Tonbu in your hand, and you just wish so bad that you could go and get the starter so that you could play the upgrade later, this is what's going to search it. Awesome. Love it. Now we will get to our first glimpse of Fire Karumon. Jaku, when he enters the arena, discard a card. You have to discard a card and choose a Karumon on your rival's team. That Karumon gains Flaming. Now it's important to note that this is not going to just give Flaming to the one that it is attacking. This can also give Flaming to just any of your rival's Karumon. So if you play this early enough and they have an upgrade or a powered up Karumon that's strong, that's going to be hard to capture, but you really want for its levels or for its effect, you can go ahead and give it Flaming and then wait until that flame ticks down its power every turn until it's weak enough for you to go ahead and grab it. The only other Fire Karumon that Marcus has is Shuiro. Now this one operates a little bit differently. It's still going to give somebody Flaming, but it operates a little bit differently than Jaku does. When Shuiro attacks, Defender gains Flaming as long as there is at least one other Fire-type Karumon on your team. Still good though. It only affects its Defender, so it's up to you whether you want to just use its relatively high 8 power base as a starter to just capture someone outright, or do you bump it up against a much stronger Karumon in order to give it Flaming and then burn it down as the turns go on. So Flaming is going to be a very strong effect, but it's got to be used efficiently. And then the last two are Metal. These are Metal Karumon. When Seiteki defends, flip it into the air. If it lands face up, the attacker loses 2 power. That is a permanent power loss. You will physically flip the card in the air, so you will lay it down. If it's in the arena, someone attacks it, you're going to go boop, whoa, and then it falls off the table, and then you don't know what happens. But if it lands face up, you lose 2 power. Haha. If you were a 6 power Karumon, I don't get captured. For Marcus himself, the player card, you can play him to an empty space. Karumon on your team cannot lose power as a result of a Karumon ability during your rival's turn. So they can still lose power during your turn, no matter what, any effect, but during your rival's turn, they can only lose power as a result of bonus effects and things like that. Stuff that actually is coming from a Karumon ability is not going to take effect. And then just like in the Sakura deck, you've got a handful of these Power Potions, Cure-Alls, a Tiger Acorn, a Cherry Bomb, a Treasure Hunt, but then the last unique one that they have is Trade. Both players choose a card from their own hand, then exchange these cards. I just said views. The interesting thing here, a little bit high risk, high reward. If you can play one of the bonus cards that we'll look at later, that lets you see your rival's hand, and maybe they have something pretty high value that you'd like to take, go ahead and play this. Otherwise, you're kind of just rolling the dice here. I also like how this one's kind of flipping the other person off. Alright, so that covers the starter decks. Hey everybody, it's me from the past. Ooh. I was editing this and chopping things out, taking away mistakes and getting rid of silent bits and things like that. Altogether, it was going to be like just under an hour long, so I'm going to go ahead and chop this one here, just for the starter decks, and then we'll move on to maybe 2 more videos to cover all the additional cards. Okay, bye-bye.